Hello, good people. Today, we are going to be talking about breakout wide receivers. These aren't wide receivers you're necessarily going to have to target early in your drafts. If you want to go double hero RB strategy, these are some wide receivers you can target in the middle rounds that you can build your teams around that I think have a really good chance to break out. And if you don't agree, let me know in the comments and you let me know who your breakout wide receivers are going to be. So let's start the video and let's start out with Josh Downs. He's currently coming off the board at pick 83, wide receiver 47. He was number 28 in targets, number 19 in target share amongst wide receivers last year, but he was only 69th in snap share. That makes no sense. My guess is the Colts will use him more in 2025 based on how effective he was. And I get it. The quarterback situation is less than ideal. And it's true that Josh Downs was better with Joe Flacco last year. With Joe Flacco under center, 15.6 fantasy points per game for Josh Downs. With Anthony Richardson, only 10.7 fantasy points per game. This is a situation where I believe Downs is a lot more talented than people give him credit for, and I'm betting on the talent to translate into fantasy points for us this season. For starters, his reception perception data is phenomenal. 90th percentile win rate against man, 92nd percentile win rate against zone, and 82nd percentile win rate against press. And when you look at his success by route, the only route he didn't really do that well on was the 9 route, and he plays the slot, so it's not like the 9 route is vital to his success as a wide receiver. And despite being in quarterback flux throughout the season, the Colts ranked number 16 in points scored per game with 22.2. Their defense also wasn't very good. It ranked 24th in the NFL in points allowed per game. They have added Travarius Ward and Cam Bynum at corner and free safety. They drafted JT Tuimoloau in round 2 of the NFL draft. So they should be better, but this defense is still not going to be good. Thus, the Colts are going to have to put up points in that dome, so it's a good environment for Anthony Richardson or whoever the quarterback is to throw the football. The Colts did add Tyler Warren in round 1, but outside of him, it's just Michael Pittman, maybe Alec Pierce, and Josh Downs should have a relatively clean path to targets in 2025, especially considering he plays primarily out of the slot. As we said, he was number 8 amongst wide receivers in slot snaps last year, which is a really hard thing to say. Slot snaps, very with the S's. I sound like Sylvester from Looney Tunes. Downs also ranked highly in the following metrics per fantasy points. Yards per route run, he was 23rd amongst wide receivers. Yards after the catch on receptions, number 42 amongst wide receivers. First read target share, 21st amongst wide receivers. Number 2 in slot rate. Number 4 in fantasy points' threat rate at 34.7%. All of it leads me to believe that Josh Downs is an undervalued player based on the talent that he has. And I get it. The situation is less than ideal, but I'm guessing he's going to be the guy who's going to get a lot of these shorter throws over the middle, a lot of easy completions for either Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. So in a PPR league especially, Josh Downs is one of my targets. But if you don't trust a wide receiver in a quote-unquote bad offense, well, then I'll give you a wide receiver in a really good offense, and that's Khalil Shakir, who's currently going off the board at pick 80, wide receiver 43. The Bills are going to need a wide receiver to step up in a major way. Perhaps the player with the most upside, you could argue, is Keon Coleman, but in my opinion, the best wide receiver currently on the Bills roster is Khalil Shakir. And for starters, Shaquille O'Neal. Shakir led the Bills in targets last season with 100. The problem was he only ranked number 29 amongst wide receivers in targets from weeks 1 to 17. And a large part of why Shakir was the leader in targets with just 100 targets was because the team didn't pass the ball nearly as much as they had in the past. Last season, the Bills ranked number 28 in the NFL in pass attempts per game. The previous season, they ranked number 14 in pass attempts per game. And the season before that, they ranked number 8 in the NFL in pass attempts per game. So what changed? And the answer to that is probably Joe Brady's influence on the offense. Well, it's not probably, definitely had something to do with fewer passes, but it also, the offense focused on slowing down. In 2024, Buffalo ranked number 19 in plays per game. The previous season, Buffalo ranked number 4 in plays per game. And in 2022, Buffalo ranked number 11 in plays per game. So not only were the Bills not throwing the ball as much, they were also running fewer plays, which is obviously going to bring down the number of pass attempts in the offense. Well, what in the world does that have to do with this season, Seth? Well, honestly, not much, other than to say the team is likely going to be focused on running the ball again in 2025 because Joe Brady is still there. But there is a little problem with that, considering the fact that James Cook is in a weird, he's practicing, but he's still in a contract dispute type of situation. And I highly doubt that James Cook is going to score 16 touchdowns again the way he did last season. And I also kind of doubt that Josh Allen is going to rush for 25 touchdowns. I suppose anything is possible with Josh Allen at quarterback. So you would think those touchdowns have to go somewhere because the Bills are not going to stop scoring because this offense is going to be good as long as Josh Allen is under center. Why wouldn't the next logical conclusion be that at least some of those touchdowns go to a wide receiver, the best wide receiver in the offense, Khalil Shakir? I also want to point out that the Bills blew out teams at an unprecedented level last season. They won 7 games by 10 points or more, and they won 6 of those 7 games by 20 points or more. This is also a reason why they didn't run as many plays, because why would you if you don't have to? Now, the Bills are tied for number 23 in strength of schedule this season. That accounts for teams' winning percentages from the last season, according to CBS. But it's hard for me to believe that any team could win 6 of their games by 20 points or more again in back-to-back seasons. Maybe it's possible if your team's just that good. Maybe they're the 85 Bears. And again, I don't know what the 85 Bears did. Maybe they blew out everybody by 20 points or more. But because of this, I expect the passing volume to go up and the rushing volume, especially for players like James Cook, to go down. Shakir was also better at running shorter routes and playing against zone defenses. So while his reception perception charting isn't great by any stretch, he does have a clear role in the offense, slot wide receiver, and he is the number 1 pass catcher on a team that is going to be able to put up some serious points. Shakir also ranks highly in some important metrics for wide receiver per fantasy points data. Number 24 in yards per route run, number 4 in yards after contact on receptions, first read target share, number 41, number 4 in design targets, number 8 in slot rate, and number 13 in fantasy points threat rate at 30.4%. All of it leads me to believe that Khalil Shakir is an extreme value where he's getting drafted, and he has the potential to break out in 2025. Now let's get to a rookie, and that would be Tetairoa McMillan. He's a little bit more expensive, ADP of 42, wide receiver 22 off the board. Tetairoa McMillan was drafted number 8 by the Carolina Panthers in this year's NFL draft. The Panthers very clearly had a wide receiver problem they needed to fill, and they filled it with a prototype X-wide receiver in Tetairoa McMillan. When I say that there is hardly any competition for targets, I'm not joking. I mean, there's really virtually nothing standing in the way of McMillan seeing a 24-25% target share from the get-go, maybe more. The team's current depth chart looks like this at wide receiver and tight end. Tetairoa McMillan, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, Jalen Coker, David Moore, Jimmy Horn Jr., and at tight end, Tommy Tremble, Jatavian Sanders, Mitchell Evans. McMillan was also a beast in college. He put up back-to-back seasons of monstrous production. In 2023, 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. In 2024, over 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. And now he slots into that Mike Evans-like role that Dave Canales loves to feature in his offenses. The issue is there isn't a real Chris Godwin-like threat on this team unless you count Adam Thielen or unless you count Xavier Legette. And those players, no disrespect to the great and wise Adam Thielen, they're not at the level that Chris Godwin was during his time with Dave Canales in Tampa Bay. And the reception perception data is really, really good. 59th percentile win rate against man in college, 60th percentile win rate against zone, and 80th percentile win rate against press. And when you look at the success by route, it's very, very impressive. Bryce Young also started to play a lot better for the Panthers at the end of the season. And now that he has a big wide receiver on the outside, I would expect that trend to continue into 2025. Let's move to the West, shall we? Go West, young man. And I'm going to talk about Jauan Jennings with an ADP of 62, wide receiver 34 off the board. The 49ers offense is going to be an offense that I want pieces of in 2025, and Jauan Jennings is going to be a big part of that offense. And I understand there's a contract issue at hand, but he is practicing, and frankly, the 49ers don't have a ton of options at this stage in the game. Brandon Ayuk is likely not going to be ready to start the season. In fact, according to Adam Schefter, there isn't even a timetable for his return yet, and we're, a month away from the season, a month and a half away from the season starting as of this video being published. That's not great. This means that the top 2 wide receivers on the roster to open up the season are likely going to be Jauan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. As of right now, he's ahead of Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Watkins, and Jacob Cowing, who are behind him on the depth chart. And if Jennings gets the kind of volume we think he can get in this offense, we know what he's capable of doing. In games where Jennings saw more than a 70% snap share last year, he averaged 17.9 fantasy points per game. This included 3 weeks where he scored above 20 fantasy points and 1 week where he scored 46.5 fantasy points, which I will admit does skew the average a bit, but in best ball, this guy's an absolute home run smash of a pick. And even in leagues where you have to set a lineup, I think he's also just a smash pick. The 49ers defense also won't be as good this season, as it just ranked number 29 amongst NFL teams in points allowed per game. And outside of adding Mikael Williams and Alfred Collins with their first 2 picks in the NFL draft, I mean, that should help. But my guess is this unit is going to be about average, even with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner leading the way. The 49ers also have the weakest schedule in terms of opponent winning percentage in the NFL, and this is going to be really good for fantasy. Jennings also ranked very highly in the following categories according to Fantasy Points data: yards per route run, number 14 amongst wide receivers, and first read target share, 29.2%, number 25 amongst wide receivers. This tells me that the 49ers are more than comfortable featuring Jauan Jennings as their number 1 wide receiver in the offense. Now, I know Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan are all vying for targets in this offense, but Emeka Egbuka is a special talent. But don't take my word for it. Just ask Baker Mayfield, who was gushing about Emeka Egbuka on the Kelsey podcast. Emeka Egbuka is currently going off the board at pick 82, wide receiver 46. Egbuka had a terrific college career, 2 seasons with over 1,000 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns at Ohio State. His reception perception data is really good. He was below average in win rate against man, but against zone and press coverage, 82nd and 92nd percentile win rates. You look at the route tree, it's impressive. Success by route. Chris Godwin is already dealing with an injury and is now on the PUP list, according to many reports on Twitter. This should give Egbuka the opportunity to prove that he is in fact that dude. And when he does, if he does, Egbuka could be a league winner this season at his current ADP. Let me end the video with one of my favorite sleepers to draft, and that would be Kyle Williams. Currently has an ADP of 135, wide receiver 61 off the board. Truthfully, there isn't much standing in the way of Kyle Williams playing right from the get-go in New England. The wide receivers in his way are obviously Stephon Diggs, but from there it gets dicey. I mean, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Kendrick Bourne, Matt Collins, and the Pats have Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper at tight end, but those aren't the wide receivers that we just mentioned in Tampa Bay, surely. Kyle Williams also put up really good numbers in college. This culminated in his 2024 season where he almost had 1,200 receiving yards, 1,198 receiving yards, and 14 touchdowns. His reception perception data is also really good. 75th percentile win rate against man, 62nd percentile win rate against zone, and 82nd percentile win rate against press coverage. The success by route is also impressive, and he is crushing camp. On an offense that should be able to move the ball with Drake May, I'll bet on Kyle Williams all day, every day to outperform his ADP and break out in 2025. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, click the alarm bell till it goes ding to be notified of new content when it drops on the channel. And until next time, be good, everybody, and we will see you later.